Yeah, so I was looking into my channel analytics, and I was really happy to see that the proportion of cats watching my YouTube videos has gone up drastically. And in fact, I even got my first donation deck list from a cat today. Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, here for another Legacy video. And Chip the cat would like me to play the reality Chip today. It's both Chip. Get it? It's funny. So this is a card that we've tried to make work on my channel a couple of times, and we've had it pop off a little bit, but we've never quite had real consistency. So we're going to go back at it once again with some new printings today. So this is a 0/4 equipment jellyfish legendary artifact creature. That's a lot of words. That lets you look at the top card of your library at any time. As long as the reality chip is attached to a creature, you may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. So when you play this, it is a 0/4 creature. If you then pay the 3 mana to reconfigure it and equip it to something, then you can pop off and start trying to play a bunch of cards off the top of your library. So our goal today is to play a whole bunch of fast mana and then do some broken artifact nonsense. So this is the deck list that we're going to be doing today, and I'm playing this mostly as is. I rebuilt the sideboard a little bit, but the main deck I don't think I drastically changed. So the goal with Reality Chip is to play a bunch of zero-cost artifacts off the top, or otherwise play things that allow us to continue chaining things together and increasing our artifact count. So while Springleaf Drum maybe doesn't normally hit the playability threshold for Legacy, if we're using Springleaf Drum to kind of keep our mana count going, it's actually totally fine. And Third Path Iconoclast is a way for us to make artifacts every time we cast an artifact. So that if we spend 1 mana to make an artifact, we can just get that 1 mana right back out of it. And Sai will also allow us to go and continue making a bunch of artifacts, and Kappa Cannoneer can be a payoff for the artifacts, as can Urza's Saga tokens. Also slotted into this deck list, we have the infinite combo of Painter's Servant and Grindstone. If we activate a Grindstone targeting our opponent while we control Painter's Servant, we are going to mill their entire library, as the cards are the same color. Going into this league, I have 2 primary thoughts about the main deck on my mind. Number 1, is it reasonable to play Third Path Iconoclast in a world where Orcish Bowmasters exists? I'm scared. Number 2, is Goblin Engineer good enough to be in this deck on its own without Goblin Welder as well? We have Urza's Saga as a tutor for Grindstone, so playing Goblin Engineer as a tutor for Third Path Iconoclast is reasonable. But I did just consider cutting these and playing Emery's and staying closer to mono blue. I also considered throwing these into the main deck. I was really impressed by Akal Pakal the first time I played it, maybe a week or so ago for you all. And I thought this would be a neat way to go and get some extra card advantage, and I really want to explore this card more. I think it is quite powerful. So I slotted these into the sideboard, and I think I added the Hercules recalls. I think we're not going to be great at answering opposing artifacts. So if my opponent is playing an Urza Saga deck of their own, I think we just need a way to kind of clear all of that out at the same time. And Hercules does a pretty good job of that without touching my own stuff, as this does target a specific player. So if you kind of ask me conceptually where this deck list is, we're sort of in a weird middle area between being a storm deck and being an artifact-based deck like 8cast. And we'll see what proportion of the time we actually can pop off. Notably, the LEDs are really good for getting Reality Chip equipped to let us start the chain, but they do produce 3 mana, which is conveniently enough for Grindstone. So in theory, we can go turn 1 Grindstone, turn 2 Painter, LED activate, dead. Like, that's a line that's available to us in this deck, and we'll just, like, see how good it is, and we'll see how much cards like Collector Oof end up wrecking us today. If you like what you see and you need to pick up some cards, consider checking out Cool Stuff Inc. and using promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your next order. Let's battle. Hey folks, Phil from the future here. If you only have time for one round, please check out round 5 versus the Orcish Lumberjack deck. It's pretty interesting. Mox Opal, Lotus Petal, 1 mana Springleaf Drum, 2 mana Reality Chip. I don't think we quite keep this one. It's interesting, but I'm gonna lose a lot of mana, and I don't have the secondary body to easily equip this to. Like, I can jump through some hoops, but without permanent mana to start playing things off the top, I think this gets awkward. How about this one? So I just go Scalding Tarn Pass, then Volcanic Island, Third Path Iconoclast, Mox Opal, and then start chaining together artifacts. Maybe I play Moonsnare Prototype on turn 1. I think it's a little mid. I don't think I'm willing to go to 5, though. Yeah, so if I play Moonsnare Prototype on 1, I play these 2 lands, cast this, Moonsnare this, cast Grindstone, Mox Opal, Cursed for throwing back Pithing Needle. Sure. All right. So those Hercules recalls I was talking about in my sideboard, they have become relevant. Alternatively, Goblin Engineer, get Painter, play Mox Opal, play Grindstone. Turn 3, maybe activate Grindstone on Painter. It maybe runs into the Aether Spellbomb in an awkward way, so maybe let's not do that. But I'm probably winning this game with Painter, and these end up being a short-term distraction. And getting bulks are probably fine. Let's go ahead and cast this and put this in play. And then I will vomit the rest of my hand onto the board next turn. Note that I could play out a Mox Opal and play out a Grindstone immediately if I thought that was a thing that I should do. But I'm not really interested in that. Oh! My opponent might have kept a very risky hand. Unless they are just a combo deck. Reality Chip, you say? I like where this is going. So, let's cast this. And now, the fun begins. Let's always yield to this. We are going to make some dudes. Let's tap this. This is on. And maybe just play the Goblin Engineer and start threatening that Painter nonsense. Maybe this just gave my opponent a really good Pithing Needle target. It just lets them know that that's coming. I think that was a mistake. My opponent will float their mana. Oh, they're just getting a Bobble. Okay, yeah, so they are combo. So this can get a little bit silly. I didn't really pay attention to it, but I think a Containment Construct went like 10-0 this weekend in an event or something like that. So I will cast a Grindstone. Hello, Moto? Okay, there it goes. I'm going to go ahead and tap a creature for a mana. I'm going to get... Oh, I see. Get Painter Servant. I'll sacrifice a creature. Everything is blue. Grindstone, target you. And we kill our opponent. Now, as a Null Rod deck myself, I don't necessarily get to go and just like play something that is just lights out for my opponent, unfortunately. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I said that right. As an artifact deck, I don't get to play Null Rod. That just kind of ends the game versus these sorts of decks. So in case you don't know what we're playing against, this is the general idea. It is Riddlesmith / Containment Construct combo. So Pithing Needles can be good for Urza Saga, but a lot of times isn't going to stop a lot of the nonsense that I really need to be stopping. I am interested in the Hercules still. The Tormod's Crypts sometimes do stuff. The Pithing Needles sometimes do stuff. The Dismembers sometimes do stuff. I'm going to get rid of the one of Chromatic Star. I think I'm going to get rid of the Pithing Needle and then trim something in this general ballpark. Like maybe trim 2 reality chips. Only has 1 power, yeah. Let's try something like this. Maybe I Brazen Borrower as well. I like that Magic Online has added some extra text here about who is winning in a match. Let me tell you, I'm using my brain power to talk about what is happening in the game, not necessarily keeping track of what game we're in. Like Awkward Keep? So my deck has a decent amount of mana and mana adjacent cards. I think I'm okay with this, especially since I can get Metalcraft pretty much immediately. Like drawing an LED, for example, is just an attempted turn 2 kill. Drawing another land or a Mox Opal will probably result in a turn 3 kill. Sure. Yep. This deck is capable of doing powerful things. That is a Riddlesmith. So this can end up looting through a lot of things and is a way to potentially get something like an Echo of Eons into the graveyard. Hey, an Echo of Eons. Last card LED? Negative. A Moonsnare Prototype. Understood. If I put Painter into play this turn, I don't have the blue mana to play Moonsnare Prototype. So I think I'm just going to play a Grindstone and pass. Some portion of the time my opponent just like plays a blue land, casts Echo, and things get a little weird. I think I want to play a card though. My opponent mulliganed to 5, so there's a decent chance that they kind of have an awkward mid-game for a little while before they pop off. Well, not this time. This is fine, and may end up being significantly better for me. I don't have the Painter, but boy do I have mana now. So, at this point my opponent gets to loot a lot. There's another Echo in graveyard, so my opponent will be able to repeat this. We are probably going to end up in a weird, non-deterministic combo situation where my opponent takes about 45 game actions that don't result in an immediate win or loss. I'm going to skip ahead to relevant plays. Alright, my opponent has 3 Lion's Eye Diamonds and they've cracked a handful of baubles. They are going to go ahead and cast a new draw 7, and this whole process is going to repeat again. My new hand is much worse. So a few plays later, my opponent has played a Containment Construct, and this is a really neat interaction with Breakthrough, where all these cards get exiled, and then my opponent can actually go and play them. So at this point, it's probably a matter of time before I am actually dead. Okay, at this point, my opponent has found a Brain Freeze, and they can mill me for my entire deck. So I will go ahead and concede. GG's. Note that this is an incredibly time-intensive thing to like combo off with. So just in case you're yelling at me to bring in Tormod's Crypt to help deal with Echo of Eons, note that a lot of times you're not actually going to deal with the Echo of Eons, because if your opponent does something like discards their hand to LED or discards it to, say, a Riddlesmith trigger, they have priority next to cast that before you can go and junk that thing. Like, I could try to play Tormod's Crypt to, like, get the other cards that aren't Echo of Eons out, but I don't really know how meaningful that is versus just, like, trying to kill my opponent. A little frustrating that I have to, like, play these Urza Sagas to respect the Urza, I have to play the Hurkyl's Recalls to respect my opponent's Urza Saga tokens, which I'm not great at beating when bouncing their 0-cost artifacts doesn't really do a lot. Maybe when I'm on the play, I'll play 1 Brazen Borrower as an additional piece of interaction and cut like 1 Kappa Cannoneer or something. I could play Pithing Needle instead of Hurkyl's Recall, but I am an Urza Saga deck myself, so It's a touch awkward. So, turn 1, Grindstone, LED, LED. Turn 2, Urza, Saga, Goblin, Engineer. Turn 3, win. Hopefully that's good. And I think I will play Mountain over Urza Saga on turn 1. I think. It's a little weird if like this specifically gets Force of Willed. Otherwise, I think this is good. With 2 eyes in play, we'll pass the turn. My opponent has kept their 7 this time. All right, let's see what my opponent's got going on. Also, in case you're wondering, like, why are we not a counterspell deck? We are trying to abuse the reality chip. And that means playing as many things as possible that you can cast with it. Our Mountain bites us in the butt a little bit here, but I think we would be playing Goblin Engineer anyway. Yes. Got Grindstone in play. I will get Painter's Servant. Slightly annoyingly here, if my opponent echoes, that will shuffle my graveyard. Is this a billion life dismember? It is a billion life dismember. My opponent may like get away with that just due to the like raw efficiency of their deck, and if I don't have another land to pressure them with the Urza Saga tokens, it doesn't matter that much. All right, yeah, this is why I have Hercules in my deck. Opponent's down to 12, but has a broken card. All right. I don't have blue mana, unfortunately, but I do get to start doing Urza's Saga things. I'm not on Shadow Spear, right? Not on Shadow Spear. I am on Pithing Needle. All right, we're chilling. I'm going to make a dude. I'm going to set a stop in my upkeep. Unless I very specifically draw Painter's Servant. Oh, this one doesn't have the second counter on it yet. Never mind. I'll draw my card. Okay. So this one gets the second counter on it. I am considering discarding my hand to LED. But I have 3/4 mana and just make a construct token, fetch another thing out, and say, to hell with these cards. I think I'm weirdly into it. Yeah. All right. So, make a token. Yeah, you can make your token in response. That's fine. I'll make another one. So this is a 5/5, soon to be a 6/6. I probably get like a Mox Opal or a Springleaf Drum here. Do Mox Opal. I'll send in for 6, which my opponent maybe just chump blocks so that they can use Ancient Tomb mana more effectively on their own turn. And I am certainly presenting lethal on my following turn here. And we'll just kind of see what my opponent can do. This is presumably going to be some colored mana, and then they can start trying to do like some breakthrough nonsense or something like that. Mox Opal currently doesn't have Metalcraft. Okay, that'll do. It is a Riddlesmith. And this is going to be an Echo of Eons. I can consider cracking LED for blue, blue, blue. And that would open up my one of Brazen Borrower as a piece of interaction. I don't think I am going to do that, because I like the size of these constructs still matter if my opponent has multiple jump blockers here. All right, so my opponent has multiple breakthroughs, unfortunately. So these are just effective draw 4s. And again, and I'm going to do the same thing as before, where I just update you on relevant spells, because I think this is going to be a large number of clicks before we actually get anywhere meaningful. All right, my opponent has played a whole bunch of spells and is now going to go ahead and exile my Grindstone, which is occurring. So bored. Modern Eggs was banned because like this sort of gameplay is just absolutely terrible, where one person takes a very large number of game actions that are non-deterministic and often involve looping large portions of their deck. Alright, so my opponent has nearly timed themselves out, but they have found their brain freeze, and that will be good enough to defeat me. Game.
Today's video is sponsored by Eminence Gaming. They have run a ton of tournaments at this point, and you might know them from the competitive EDH scene, but their command tower software can be used for all sorts of different formats. It's really easy. You can even just give your players a QR code in order to get them all of their pairings and everything that they can need. I really love this software as a player, and you should talk to your stores about it. Consider using it. It's cool.
Alright. Urza Saga, play a 1-mana artifact, LED. What if I go Urza Saga Chromatic Star, cycle Chromatic Star, make red, play 3 PI, LED. Have 3 bodies on board, not really be able to utilize the Urza Saga all that well. I don't think I'm quite into this one. Okay. This is not great. I think I keep this one and just play Psy on turn 2, and then immediately play LED. And then use Grindstone the following turn as a way to make another Thopter. But this is unexciting. Alright, let's play this. Let's get rid of this upkeep stop. I'm a little more all in on this side than I would like to be, but I don't believe that it is correct to keep 2 of them. Like, I could very well just get punished by a Thoughtseize right here. Or get punished by being dead. Oh, no. Maybe like a red-black scam deck? Interesting. Yeah, probably red-black scam. Sure. So I will probably just crack my fetch so my opponent doesn't know what I draw. I think I'm good with that. And I will just get a regular old Volk here. Take your draw. Kappa Cannoneer. I don't mind that. So I'll play Psy. And then we'll get going with LED nonsense. And I should be able to pretty quickly play this Kappa Cannoneer. Like, I probably play it next turn. Some decent portion of the time. Yeah, okay. Identified the deck based on turn 1. Happy with that. And we'll just see how broken of things my opponent ends up doing. Reanimate, sure. I think I probably end up racing that. Like, if my opponent does not have counterspells. Like, I take 3 this turn, I go to 16. My opponent has dealt a lot of damage to themselves, and I can just block this in the future. I think I need this one this turn to potentially put Kappa Cannoneer into play. Ah, that's an awkward draw. So I play Grindstone. I make a Thopter. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I needed any land, any castable artifact. And this was one of the few cards that did not fit that category. Rough. Alright. I think I cast this. I'll send in for 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I probably need to be chump blocking this so that this stays on a 3-turn clock. Just 6, 12, 18. Losing my Kappa is rough here. That means it's now very difficult to race the troll. And I will, in fact, probably have to block the troll. I lose Psy. Okay, I accept. Like, I could technically activate a Psy. I don't think that ends up in a good spot for me. I can still just top deck a Painter Servant and instantly kill my opponent. That is very much the plan. Let's see if we get lucky. Yeah. Yep. Painter Servant. Swap some... I'm going to not attack with this. Swaps, like, my activate Grindstone. Awkward. So the sacrifice an artifact is done as part... Fuck. Is done as part of the cost. So that would have been a bit of a problem. I am going to go ahead and still block this. I need to top deck a Painter, and I only have 2 in my deck. 2 in 49 chance. That's not going to do it. I am dead. So Tormod's Crypt is okay. I don't know that I'm that excited about it. Dismember's good. Hydroblast is a card. bunch of my opponent's stuff is black rather than red, though. Probably going to get rid of Pithing Needle and Chromatic Star for these 2 Dismembers. A couple Tormod's Crypts are probably fine. They're still very good with Third Path Iconoclast and Sai. Might be a reasonable matchup for this card. A bunch of my opponent's creatures have evasion, so the big booty doesn't matter here. Because Menace is good, Flying is good. Maybe I do play Hydroblast for DRC. Go down 2 chips for 2 pieces of interaction. Intend on winning with this stuff and Painter, and Reality Chip is the backup plan rather than the primary plan. Maybe if I do that, I also board out 2 more for 2 Tormod's Crypts. No mana. Auto Mulligan. This one's totally fine. I'll keep this and just pitch 1 land. It's really awkward whether or not I just play the Urza Saga immediately. I think I don't. I think I play Scalding Tarn Pass and intend on playing Otawara, 3PI, Mox Opal. And then I do the Urza Saga slightly after that. I think that's my conceptual plan. Okay. All right. So Volk, play this, cast my spell. I'm going to work on getting Metalcraft turned on ASAP for Mox Opal. Snuff out immediately, sure. I mean, I'm happy it didn't happen to my Painter. Now, something to keep in mind here is that Snuff Out very specifically targets non-black creatures. So when I play my Painter, if I name black, Snuff Out can't actually answer Painter. But that will turn things like lands in my opponent's hand. All right. Things like lands in my opponent's hand into black cards for the purposes of things like Grief. So, that's just something to keep in mind. So, yeah, I'll go to combat and attack for 1. Send it. Opponent's at 14. I would like to paint it black and play a black card. Now, we can make very, very large Urza Saga construct tokens. I don't have Shadow Spear to gain life if my opponent gets more aggressive than they already are. Yuri could be, in theory, pretty bad. You're going to reanimate my creature? You're going to reanimate my creature. Sure, that's fine. This will produce good blockers for them for the purposes of my Urza Saga tokens. This is actively good. Is that an animate dead? Yeah, sure. That's pretty annoying. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 immediately. Got it. Yeah, the Null Rod's so good here. Activate. I just played this one this turn, unfortunately. And I'm passing. I'm not very good against this. I can put a bunch of creatures in front of it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so I have a 5/5. Oh, God, another Null Rod. Yeah. I can throw everything in front of the troll and get rid of the troll. I think I just got overrun here. Oh my god. And an Orcish Bowmasters that kills this token. It can't block. It shrinks my thing. I'm going to take a quick look at the stuff in this 1-drop slot. It's not really going to do it. I think I am going to go ahead and toss in the towel here. I am dead. GG's.
Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, which is an absolutely awesome place to keep all of your deck lists. I keep all of my personal deck lists there as well, in addition to all of the stuff that I do for the stream. And in the future, they're going to have a social media site on here too. So if you're worried about other certain websites dying, maybe join Moxfield, put your deck lists up there, and in the future, you'll be there for social media stuff too.
So this is an awkward one. I have 2 Third Path Iconoclasts, but only 1 artifact to play with them. And I would probably want to play out that artifact immediately on turn 2 to get my value out of this. I don't really know that this is a keepable hand. This falls into that category of this is awkward as hell, but I probably can't mulligan it. So I go ahead and get the Volk and just play Grindstone immediately. I'm also going to just play out the Lotus Petal. That way my hand is immune to discard effects. We are potentially playing against some sort of stacks deck here with that Ancient Tomb. It could just be lands. Wow. Yeah, so we're playing against Sphere of Resistance lands. We're totally fine as long as my opponent can't start wastelanding me. Like, if I can just poop out Urza Saga tokens forever, like, life is good. Costs my opponent some life. They have a crop rotation, presumably for a wasteland. Yep. Okay. One wasteland is fine. Like, I've got more Urza Sagas. It's as soon as my opponent starts, like, having the ability to play multiple wastelands that things start getting really dicey. Like we're gonna see here. I'll play this out and pass. Opponent will. Oh fuck! There's the life from the loam. This is probably the point. Well, I was going to say where I should concede. However, drawing another basic means that I can just play the game on 2 basic lands and like a Third Path Iconoclast or something like that. So I think with the other basic, this game isn't over. It's just absolutely miserable. So in kind of a repeat of round 1, I just like decide whether or not I want to play it out or concede. The Urza Saga that my opponent has means that they have a real win condition. This is maybe where the point for entertainment value, I just concede. Like, I have... Like, this is also... Like, this combo is also stopped by the spheres. I think for entertainment value, I'm going to pack it in and not add 10 minutes to this video while I try to wiggle out of this. Okay, so needles are good, crypts are reasonable, Urkel's recalls are not crazy, Akal Pakal and Brazen Borrower are worth considering. I get rid of this Chromatic Star. It's really awkward because like going wide gets around things like Maze of Ith, but then starts running into Tabernacles. I think the chips are out. I think they're going to be my weakest thing here. Like, this is my way to win big. This is my way to go wide. This is my way to win fast. And Reality Chip, I think, is just going to run into too many things like Pithing Needles, Bow Seijus, Spheres. So that leaves me with 5 slots. Needle's pretty good. Some number of these are good. I don't think I want this. And I think I'll play 2 of these. I could max out harder on like Tormod's Crypt or Pithing Needles, but I can already tutor for them. This hand doesn't do anything, despite having a reasonable mix of lands and spells. On turn 2, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana towards Kappa Cannoneer. And I think if I can turn 2 the Kappa Cannoneer, this becomes more reasonable. But I think I just try to do better. Yes, Painter Grindstone and the ability to activate is totally fine. I think I am going to keep this as a combo hand. I am getting some Magic Online lag today. Not sure if on my end or a result of the latest update. Alright, sure. You got a sphere? Fuck. Okay, I mean, that's good. This means that I don't have the turn 3 goldfish. It'll become a turn 4 goldfish instead. That's still honestly not bad. Like, that will outpace this Urza Saga. Sure, that's a fine land in play. Oh, great. Another basic, too. Yeah. Alright, what weird things do I need to play around? Probably not Veil of Summer in the Sphere deck. I think I'm just going to pick a random color, though. I think everything's white. Like, I don't have my own Force of Wills to be thinking about here. Force of Vigor. Sure. That's insane. At some point, I can Hurkyl's Recall the Urza Saga tokens and Sphere of Resistance out of play. Life from the Loam. It's just a fetch right now, but that also means my opponent can recur the Urza Saga. Yeah, I'm in really bad shape. That doesn't mean I can't win. I don't think I make this land drop. Everything's white again. Again, does not mean I can't win, but it's very hard for me to combo off in a singular turn. My opponent can get a Pithing Needle here to get better at stopping my Grindstone combo so that I have to end of turn Hercules, bounce your stuff, and then afterwards combo off, which might take 2 turns. Yeah, life's bad. Life from the Loam happens again. Oh, okay. Now they can just play another land. JK. Sure. I take 4 in combat. 3 mana, play Goblin Engineer. Next turn. Yeah, my mana's just awkward, right? Like, I can bounce the constructs out of play. They're just going to be coming back. And if I bounce the Pithing Needle at any time other than my opponent's end step, they just replay it. But I also need to take this pressure off me because those constructs just kill me so quickly. And I can't play Springleaf Drum because of the sphere. Yeah, I think at this point I am dead. It takes 2 or 3 turn cycles for me to formally die, but I don't think it's worth playing from here. Okay. Turn 1 Urza Saga, turn 2 Painter, turn 3 kill. Done. If memory serves, my opponent plays a lot of Cloud Post, so they won't have too many ways to interact with what I've got going on. They're gonna have fucking Eldrazi. No. Fuck. Do I have game 1 Graveyard Hate? No. Damn it. This hand is a mulligan against this opponent. I am frustrated that I looked at the name after I kept my hand. They Livy. Alright. Yeah, this is fine. This is probably getting an Elvish Reclaimer. So, what am I doing with my life? Like, how am I winning? The Goblin Engineers are not good if I'm not trying to assemble Painter combo, really. So I want to either go wide or go tall. I can't do either of those things, which probably means that I start trying to set up the reality chip. It's tough. I might need to start ticking up an Urza's Saga. Okay. That gives me a real direction. Maybe I just end up making some Urza Saga construct tokens for a little while. Can't quite get this reconfigured to something, and I can't cast these until I do reconfigure. I can redraw this by junking Chromatic Star. I think I'm just going to leave it in play for Urza Saga beats purposes. Elvish Reclaimer is going to get another Cloud Post here and make my life miserable. I could be facing down a Primeval Titan immediately, at which point most of the things that I do don't really matter anymore. Echoing Deeps becomes Forest. Oh shit, did I luck out here? Yeah, I think I lucked out. So end of turn, I'll make an Urza Saga token. It is a 3/3. I think I'm not going to make another token, and we're going to try to do reality chip combo shenanigans here. Okay, yep, so they're going to rotate. Finding a new Cloud Post. I will, I guess, get a Mox Opal. So let's go. And reconfiguring, like with this on top, is super awkward. That's a really bad shuffle for me. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess this is kind of free. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can play Kappa Cannoneer and not Springleaf Drum afterwards, or I can Springleaf Drum first. Wait, this is an artifact. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, no. I guess I could sack this instead of using this as a mana rock. Yeah, let's do that. And just clear this top card. It's another bad hit for this. So I could go 1, 2, 3. Play Springleaf. Yeah, okay. Yuck. So I'll play one of these. This is not how I wanted this turn to go, but both of my top cards were not like 0-cost artifacts that would let me get going. And then maybe I go for lethal in one turn with Kappa Cannoneer. Looks like my opponent has Crop Rotation. Are we just getting Emrakuled? I am fully dead to that if that is the case. Cloud Post, sure. Right click, concede. Olamog, that's not immediate death. It's just frustrating. My opponent can pay the ward 4 though. It's also taking out a reality chip. Yeah, and the One Ring. Yikes. Yeah, so my opponent's deck naturally having Eldrazi in it, making my Painter Grindstone combo dead, is brutal. I know I'm drawing that Goblin Engineer, which is not great. Yeah, I'm gonna concede. So I don't really pressure my opponent fast enough without Painter Grindstone combo to be competitive against the top end of their deck. I need to either board out these 6 cards or board in a large number of Tormod's Crypts. I'm going to Pithing Needle for Elvish Reclaimer, and to a lesser extent the One Ring. I probably Dismember for Elvish Reclaimers. I think I'm going to play this as an alternative card advantage engine. Goblin Engineer sucks without the Painter Grindstone combo. Can I get 4 other cards in here reasonably? Am I playing 4 Tormod's Crypts just literally as 0-cost artifacts for Sai and Third Path Iconoclast and Kappa? Probably. I think I'm playing 3 of those. Yeah, this is a rough hit as far as a matchup goes. This doesn't do anything. Like, I can play an Urza Saga on turn 1, not activated on turn 2, maybe not even activated on turn 3, at least not normally. Unless I want to play out LEDs and discard my entire hand. What about Moonsnare Prototype, actually? I could turn 1 Moonsnare Prototype and Tormod's Crypt. Turn 2 play Urza Saga and start activating it using Tormod's Crypt and Moonsnare Prototype. Or rather, turn 3 start activating it. That means I'm not attacking with a construct until at least turn 4. I don't think this hand is fast enough. Yikes. On 6, I guess I keep this. It's pretty disappointing, though. I think I'm going to hold up turn 1 Dismember. Alright, my opponent tanked for a little while and did keep their 7 ultimately. Got a Once Upon a Time to kick things off. Just finding a trap, that's whatever. Carpet of Flowers is not the Elvish Reclaimer that I was hoping for, unfortunately. My opponent makes no mana with it this time. I want to play Urza Saga. And at this point, I think we are putting artifacts in play for the purposes of an Urza Saga rather than holding them. And I think I'm just going to blind put this on the One Ring at this point and not run into that in the mid game. I've got Dismember to help cover an Elvish Reclaimer that's played out, or any other similar card. Green Sun for 1 is fine. Opponent did not do it for 2. So end of turn. I'll tap a Pithing Needle to make a colorless. And we'll attempt to dismember this critter. Yeah, knew it was a possibility. Gotta go for it, though. Third Path Iconoclast is a reasonable draw. That doesn't really do a lot right now. I'm now punished for putting this on the One Ring, since my opponent did have Veil of Summer for my removal spell. At least I only have 1 island. And there's a Cloud Post. I don't know that what I'm doing is going to be competitive with what my opponent is doing in terms of speed, which is a sad thing to say because my opponent is playing Cloud Post, a notoriously slow deck. My opponent has paused in upkeep. I wonder if they have Force of Vigor. Well, if they do, it's not happening yet. Actually, I guess let's use this. Tap the Pithing Needle for a colorless, and then make my creature. I do have a second Pithing Needle here. If my opponent doesn't respond, I can Needle Elvish Reclaimer. They did respond. This is presumably another Cloud Post. Yep. So I can Pithing Needle the Reclaimer, which I think is what I'm going to do. I'll shut that off. I'll use this for red. Cast this to produce another creature. I end up ahead on artifacts from where I was at the beginning of the turn. I'll crack my opponent for 7. I have 7, 14, 15, 16, 17 damage showing next turn. But Elvish Reclaimer can block, so it's really 7, 8, 9, 10, which is not lethal. Definitely not lethal now. That's a lot of mana. Is this green mana or is it a Cloud Post? It is a Cloud Post. Sure. Now, that doesn't draw cards right now, but it sure does give my opponent protection from everything and buy them another turn. That's not what I want. I will unfortunately just be passing the turn here. My opponent's not going to lose any life from the One Ring, as it has no counters on it. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. I guess I hold the Cloud Post in hand. Or sorry, the island in hand for Carpet of Flowers purposes. Eye of Ugin. Oh, okay. It didn't matter. Yeah, we can concede with that bad boy in play. And normally I'm going to concede at the record that I am currently at, but we've gotten our butt kicked so hard today, I would like to believe that we can pop off at least once. Alright, Urza's Saga. Lotus Petal, cast Moonsnare Prototype, play Grindstone as well. Don't have enough persistent mana. Do anything? What if I go Urza Saga, Lotus Petal, LED, Goblin Engineer, put Painter in graveyard. Then I don't have red mana to get it back. Guess I could use LED? On turn 2, I can have 4 mana, which is just short of where I need to be. Do I just like keep this and hope it works? It feels bad to keep this. It's so incredibly risky. I think I say no. Island, Mox Opal, Lotus Petal, Metalcraft is not on. So instead, play Island, play Springleaf Drummer, Chromatic Star Pass. I think I have to hope that Sai does something cool this game. I think I'm going to go Chromatics. I'm going to go Springleaf Drum. The next turn, I will play out some amount of my mana. I'm going to try not to have to play these out, because if I draw a land, it can change my sequencing a bit. And I don't have to play these 0 drops before I play Sai, which would be cool. That's a controlled land, and my one threat... JK, this is exciting. Our opponent is cultured and smart. Alright, so my opponent gets to do something big and scary. I get to put a Sai in play. I can cast this immediately, produce a token, Springleaf Drum, make a blue, tap a Thopter, go Chromatic Star, and I think I'm going to give this up to immediately take the redraw, because I have some really powerful redraws. That is, unfortunately, not one of them. How many artifacts do I have to sacrifice? 2. So I can essentially trade LED and 2 Thopter tokens for 2 new cards. I'm in. Leaves me with some floating mana. Oh, that's 1 card. Sacrifice 2 artifacts for 1 card. Hate it. Plan failed. So my opponent could be throwing down a Titania this turn. Or they could just be passing. Attack. I need this. I can't trade Orcish Lumberjack and Lightning Bolt for Sai right now. You get your 1 point of damage. I accept. My opponent didn't have something cool to do with Orcish Lumberjack this turn. Interesting. They can do that pre-combat. Obviously not great for me. I'm going to go ahead and just attack with both here. And I imagine that I'm dead to whatever my opponent does. My opponent has more mana than last turn. They can Green Sun for a larger number. Could be facing down a Natural Order. Oh. Honestly, I don't care. I have artifact mana here. No attack, notably. Let's Painter. Everything's blue. I'm going to start poking in the air. I kind of think my opponent has Lightning Bolt, based on the Orcish Lumberjack attack earlier. Endurance, maybe? That's fine. My opponent did not clear my graveyard, which does matter in my deck, I guess. 2 artifacts for a card. I'm not going to endanger this with blocks in combat, I don't think. Let's go 1, 2, activate this, sacrifice 1. I think I'm going to get rid of Springleaf Drum at this point. I'm doing okay mana-wise. A new Springleaf Drum. That kind of ends up coming out in the wash. Yeah. So my opponent is just like red-green cards? I assume there's like a Green Sun package here, or like cards like Collector Oof that make people named Phil sad. I just imagine that that's the case. My opponent is not making any forward progress here unless they cast more spells. I guess I'm gonna just attack for 1. And then I can sacrifice the Mox Opal and maybe the Springleaf Drum to draw a new card. Since I'm just gonna Legend Rule it anyway. Get my 2nd mana from here. Mox Opal, Springleaf Drum, a new Painter. That's fine. I'm gonna make dudes. Things continue to be blue. Double blue. So let's draw a Grindstone, huh? Let's draw a Grindstone. I will just continue to chump block this thing. Like, the chumps are totally fine. It's a thing. Let's make a blue. A1. Sacrifice Mox Opal, and maybe just a Thopter this time. Maybe I don't worry about speed, or if I draw Grindstone. And maybe I just sacrifice LED and a Thopter instead. It is a Mountain. I think I'm just not going to attack into an Endurance this turn. Just vibes. Just felt like I shouldn't. My opponent is not using their mana, which is sort of weird to me. I'm going to double block. Pay some mana. Sacrifice these Thopters. Just working on converting into something that allows me to Grindstone. Sure. I don't know that this actually matters. I think this can just be a Thopter. And I will be perfectly fine with that. And then next turn, I attempt to kill my opponent. I do have to keep in mind that my opponent can have Endurance to force me to shuffle that Grindstone back into my deck. What's going on over there in terms of cards? I'm just going to take a hit for 4 this time. I think I want to use this Thopter token for other purposes. Yep. The reality chip. We'll do this if my opponent's not dead. So let's make a colorless mana, Goblin Engineer, target Grindstone, paying a red, sacrificing a Thopter. It is an Endurance. That's fine. 2 of these is a little annoying. But now I just pivot into a different role. So I cast Reality Chip, make a Thopter. This actually reconfigures into a really big body, right? So I will equip this to maybe one of the Painter's Servants. Maybe one of the Painter's Servants. Yeah. And this would protect it from Lightning Bolt in the future. I don't know, maybe I'm just supposed to equip it to the Thopter. That doesn't matter. That way if my opponent has a Lightning Bolt, they blow it on that card. Alright, so I can cast this, but I'm tapped out as far as mana is concerned. Oh, this doesn't give the +0/+4. That was dumb then. Yeah, this should have just gone on the Thopter. Yeah, it's round 5, and this is the first time that we have attached this card. That is telling for the power level. Once upon a time, was hovering over Painter's Servant with an orange arrow. That was a little weird. That wasn't me. Painter's Servant does really weird things with card templating sometime on Magic Online. One of my favorite examples of that being the Undercity, like the dungeon that just, like, everything goes wonky. The opponent found a Boseiju, which presumably is going to destroy my reality chip. That will let me shuffle this Pithing Needle off the top of my library. I'll take another island. So at this point, I maybe just multi-block an Endurance and take one of them out and give up one Painter's Servant for that. I think I am into that. And then I'll just chump the other to remain healthy. Fantastic. Lightning Bolt on the Goblin Engineer. Sure. Sai's a very bad draw there. Let's do that a little differently. Let's go Yaw. 1, 2. Sacrifice the mana here to redraw. I mean, yeah. This is why we've been drawing with Sai for the past billion turns. All right. So, was my opponent just like super flooded out all game? Unsure. Hydroblast, reasonable. Dismember, reasonable. Pithing Needle, not so much. These are cards I should be thinking about. Let's get Pithing Needle out of here. Let's get Chromatic Star out of here. My opponent's deck is slow enough that like Reality Chip combo might be reasonable here. I really like this 1/5 body versus Endurance. I can tell you that much. Can I play like 2 of these? The Goblin Engineers are a lot less reliable with Endurance around. I guess Endurance is doing a lot. Maybe we're not going turbo here. So maybe I do something like this, keep some Reality Chips, some of these to grind values and be blockers. Maybe I'm supposed to keep another chip. Like, chip is a 0/4 booty. Yeah, maybe Engineer is something that I'm like, okay if it happens, but I'm not actively trying to do. Yeah, okay. I don't think the Brazen Borrower is crazy either. Like my opponent is playing Orcish Lumberjack. There's got to be something scary over there. Turn 1 Island and Moonsnare Prototype. Turn 2 Drum into Drum, creating 2 immediate bodies. I think if I assume that I draw some number of artifacts, this is fine. Like, I never just get scammed by Blood Moon here and just give my opponent a free win. So I think I am into it. Cool. Now, my opponent is a Lightning Bolt deck, which, like, wouldn't necessarily be the greatest for me. If this just immediately eats Lightning Bolt in response to my first Springleaf Drum cast. Like, hopefully my opponent just plays a 2-mana card that's not Collector Oof here. Denied. Oh, that's such a good draw. I am very happy with that. I guess that's why we sideboard things, right? All right, we are getting a response. My opponent is presumably going to just like get their red mana ready. Red Elemental Blast on the stack is a little rough. Understood. I will be passing the turn. I would like to draw a 0 mana artifact so that I can play this and start just triggering it immediately. When it's over here on red-green flash, making my life a little awkward. Oh, we got another one. I guess I can just like tap this and then play something. So that gets me colorless. So I can play a Springleaf Drum, which will trigger this. This is 1 to hand, 1 to graveyard. I will put the basic into my hand. I want more gas rather than more mana right now. Like the Kappa Cannoneer sorts of cards are very good right now. Opponent's chilling. Like, this is honestly not that bad if I just keep drawing cards with this. How many basics are in my deck? 4 or 5. I can get another one if I want to further play around Blood Moon. I think I'm just going to put this into play. I'm just going to get another red source. And I'm not even going to attack with this. I don't want Endurance plus Lightning Bolt to take this out of play, despite the fact that I do have another. Just 0 chances with this. If I win this game, I'm going to win by a landslide. I think I want this rather than Dismember for an Endurance. Force of Vigor. Understood. This not being an artifact itself is kind of nice. And this is if an artifact entered the battlefield. I don't have to, like, cast it or anything. Okay. This is the sort of payoff card that I didn't actually see last game. Yeah. And now the block is a little weird, because, like, this is a very real amount of life. I think I block here, despite the fact that it sets me back a very important creature if my opponent does have the bolt. They don't. I'm a little short of channel at end of turn. The reality chip. That is interesting. I can play and equip. I think that's not the plan. I think the plan is go wide of what my opponent is doing. Like, we'll go Yaw. This one is a non-creature. I will cast that. I'm going to send this at Minsk and Boo to take a loyalty off of it. Ooh. You're going to red blast me? Oh, you're going to Dryad Arbor to protect the loyalty. Sure. You got it. Oh god, Hydroblast is so effing good. Put that in hand. So, let's tap a creature that I would never block with. Hydroblast the Minskenvu, which makes me another creature. Oh, that was filthy. Absolutely filthy. This card is so good. And before my opponent just plays another one and attacks me for 7. Yeah, I will take this damage. That's fine. I am at 14. Does this let me play? Yes. So let's equip this to... If I equip this to a soldier token, Lightning Bolt stops my combo attempt. If I equip this here, it's a little sad if my creature eats it. Let's tap the reality chip itself here. And paying 1. Is it Hydroblast? Is Boseiju on the reality chip? Which unfortunately is happening. I'll pick up another land. I'll play a Sai. And now I can start thinking about attacks. It's awkward because of endurance, but my opponent has 1 card, so we're getting in there. Opponent's at 13. I don't think I actually had an artifact enter this turn, so for the first time I don't actually trigger this. Sure. I don't think I am interested in sacking 2 soldier tokens to draw a card right now. The bodies potentially allow me to pivot and stay in the aggressor role. Seek the Beast. Okay. Oh, pick your poison and an endurance. The opponent has to choose? They can make a decent body or... Actually, the other, like, the sacrificing an artifact mode isn't particularly strong right now, huh? So you probably just play the body of endurance. Oh, I'm wrong. I'll sacrifice Springleaf Drum. We have plenty of mana. Yeah, I'll take that 4. That's fine. Like, I can just hold back this creature and block Boo all day. And that's totally fine with me. Okay, they have another land in hand so that they can play the endurance as well. That's fine. So I think I end up on the defensive, but I end up in the position where I have more potential card advantage than my opponent. That's not great. Let's try to do better. Let's tap one of these, do this, sacrifice 1, 2, take a redraw. I'm looking for any artifact. That's fine. 1, 2, there's the reality chip. Make something with Sai. I can play that as my land for turn after I equip. We'll equip to just some random token here. Yeah. And then hopefully I just, like, churn through my deck here. Nope, I got stuck. I don't have reasonable attacks, but now I can clear this off the top. This is an overcosted removal spell. I think I'm still into it. Ooh, a Kappa. Kappa is a way to convert all my random artifacts into an insanely strong body. And I can just like 5 mana get this boo out of the way as well. All right, that's fine. Okay, we are chilling, which I think strongly, strongly favors me. All right. Now here we fucking go. For the first time, we're going to be popping off with the reality chip. Took us 5 rounds, but here we go. That's awkward. Am I casting that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Get this out of the way. I don't think I'm casting that. I think let's just go bam. Channel this on the boo token. Get that out of the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cast Kappa Cannoneer. Get an extra critter out of it. Grow Kappa Cannoneer. That's good enough for this turn. I'll move to my end step. I'll take that reality chip out of the way. Yeah, I'll pick up a Painter Servant. So, on my opponent's turn, on their second main phase, I can activate Urza Saga and then trigger this again. This is fun. Where was this the rest of the league? Yeah, that's fine. This isn't an artifact, so I don't need to respond. Yeah, that's okay. So second main, activate this. Stacking the Lotus Petal. Make a critter, grow Kappa Cannoneer, trigger Akal Pakal. I'll put another Kappa Cannoneer into my hand. Disgusting. Draw a Grindstone. Also, I have Painter in my hand, so like, you know. I'm not going to think too much about this turn right now. I imagine that my opponent is murdered in a large number of ways. So that is targeting my Kappa Cannoneer. It has Ward 4. I see 3 mana. Is there a Spirit Guide? There's not a Spirit Guide. Yeah, all right. My opponent is giving us the GGs in chat. They made a whoopsie, but I think my board presence was overwhelming here. Like, I can kill them with the Kappa Cannoneer this turn, or kill them with Painter Grindstone combo. This was the first time our deck like did its thing. We got kind of stuck on the reality chip with the Goblin Engineers on top, though. All right, obviously not a great league. Let's talk about what went well and what didn't go well. I think the Painter Grindstone portion of the deck gave me the highest portion of my results. Like, I think that was the thing that potentially gave me legacy appropriate speed draws. Otherwise, we were kind of an above average Urza Saga deck that was playing with a hand behind our back. When it worked in the last round and I like got the whole engine going, like, it was pretty neat what we were capable of doing. But other opposing combo decks were faster than us, and if we're playing the reality chip, we can't be playing Force of Will, which is, you know, kind of awkward. The fact that the reality chip requires 5 mana to maybe do something is a bit rough. We never really lined this up in a way with LED that just let us pop off early. And even like going all in on that is honestly kind of scary and risky. Because what are you equipping to? A lot of times you are equipping to a 1/1 token, and if you go all in on that, like with an LED or something, and you have 2 lands, well, guess what? Now you don't have the mana to re-equip it. The Goblin Engineer gives the Painter Grindstone portion of the deck redundancy, but like this just gets stuck on top of the library with the reality chip. And I think the reality of this deck is that like the reality chip just isn't good enough for legacy. Like, it's a fun card. Like, it's cool if it works. But like, maybe if it's going to work, like, you need to get rid of these for like 4 baubles or something like that. But every time you play a bauble-like card, you make yourself worse against Orcish Bowmasters, which is a whole nother problem. I continue to be very impressed by this card. I probably just need to build a deck fully around this card and see how far we can push this with like Urza Sagas and Retrofitter Foundries and stuff of that general nature. Like, this has felt like a real legacy card in these couple of brews that I have played recently. Yeah, just full stop. No but. Like, this has felt like a real legacy card, and it happens to dodge like some removal like Lightning Bolt and Fury. So it's got that going for it. But ultimately today, I think we're going to have to give the thumbs down to the deck designed by a cat. But as far as cats go, pretty good first deck, Chip. Good job. With that being said, folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you need any cards, please consider checking out Cool Stuff Inc. and using promo code ThrabenU to save a little bit on your next order. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya!